Hello out there in internet land. It's time again for my Walking Dead recap. This week I'll be recapping episode 4 of season 4, Indifference. So I definitely was not indifferent to this episode. No, but seriously, it was a good episode. We saw a change up, well, a change of the dynamic of the group. We were introduced to a couple new characters. We got to know a little bit more about Bob, and Tyreese is continuing his descent into pretty much just being like a rage-filled asshole, and Michonne is continuing to be awesome, as is Daryl. So and it's pretty much just focused on those characters, Rick, Carol, Michonne, Daryl, Tyreese, and Bob. So basically, I'll start off with Rick and Carol's their storyline. So they go off and they decide that it's taken Daryl and the rest a little bit long to get back. So they figure in the meantime, as people are, on the verge of dying, they're going to go and get whatever medicines they can manage to get their hands on to, stave off the flu symptoms in the meantime. So, so it's just Carol and Rick. He leaves Maggie behind because, they need at least one or two able-bodied people, and that's pretty much Carl and Maggie. So, you can't leave the entire defense of the entire prison just to Carl. So Maggie stays behind, they're a good tag team anyway. And then Rick takes Carol out. So I think it's that on top of the fact that obviously after Carol has confessed to killing Karen, he does not exactly trust her to be there with his family. So he's making sure he's keeping her close. So they go off, they wind up in a neighborhood and they're, they're looking through a house, they're getting medicine, they're trying to get whatever food they can get, and they come across a couple of hippie-ish type people. Or actually beforehand, they get in there and they see like a walker who's still in their bedclothes, takes a step downstairs, tumbles down straight up RoboCop style with that one robot that obviously is deficient when it comes to stairs. So it takes a tumble down. Then the hippie people come out and they have like fruits in their hands, like, "Whoa, man, hey, glad you guys could join us, man. We got fruits. We got like tangerines and apples." And the guy throws Rick one of his oranges or whatever. Or no, it was a peach. He throws his peach, like, "Hey, man, have this peach." And Rick's like, "I fucking hate peaches." So he just tumbles on the ground. Anyway, so they get to know them. Their names are Anna and Sam, and they kind of become a couple after they were united and all this, and they were part of a bigger group but got separated. And you kind of get to know that there's no way these people would have been able to survive on their own because one, Anna's pretty much got a peg leg, and they mentioned that it takes them about 5 or 6 shots to kill one zombie. Obviously Rick's crew are headshotting everybody. On top of that, when they mentioned, why don't you have knives, you could have killed the nightgown zombie easily, and they're like, what? You mean like stab him in the head? So obviously that's again also Rick's group. Par for the course, they do that, rather than waste bullets. So these guys are not exactly equipped to be on their own. So, Rick's telling them, well, before this, so, so the guy's, he has a big cut, and, they're thinking maybe he got bit or scratched, and he's explaining he tripped, and he got glass lots in his arm. They got the glass out, but his arm's dislocated. So we find out just how resourceful Carol is as she pops the dude's arm back into place, and later on she explains to Rick that she learned it on the internet, either that or she was watching Lethal Weapon and, pulled a Mel Gibson. So she explains that, and, apparently what led her to learn how to put her shoulder back into place was her abusive husband who died in season 1. So a little dark there, but, it is what it is. So I mean, it's really interesting just to kind of jump ahead when Carol's talking about her previous life and how she always used to doubt that she was strong, and now she's strong, and now she's making these decisions, and it is weird. Last episode I said, they're really the only people that seem to be in a happier place in their life are Maggie and Glenn, and really more so Glenn. And in this case, it's like, well, Carol as well. She got out of this horrible relationship, and now she's the person in charge for now. I mean, granted, her daughter did die, which she's kind of turned cold to, where that's like, almost like that life doesn't even exist for her anymore. So anyway, back to when they're talking to the hippie folk. Rick instructs them, hey, stay here. When it becomes nightfall, we'll come get you. He gives the dude his watch. We're like, alright, we're going to go. You guys stay here, because you guys obviously will get killed if you go outside. And Carol's like, no, it's cool. let them go outside. Don't worry about it. They'll be just fine. They're like, yeah, we'll be safe. So anyway, so they go outside. They have a little conversation. Rick and them are picking fruit. I'm sure Rick actually felt pretty nice. He's like, well, at least I got to be a farmer, kind of. And Carol's like, no, you can't just be a farmer. You got to be a leader too. So she'll probably come to regret trying to force Rick into the leadership role again. So anyway, as they're coming back, they find Anna's severed leg, complete with a tattoo, and they see what's left of her body just being gorged on by a bunch of zombies. And then Sam's missing, presumed dead. I mean, these guys obviously can't protect themselves. So that was really ironic where, Carol's thinking, oh, I can make all these good decisions, I mean, she killed 2 people back in the prison, and now she didn't kill these 2 people, but, had they listened to Rick, they probably would still be alive. So anyway, as they're all packed up and getting ready to go, Rick's like, oh, by the way, you're staying here. You're going wherever. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay at the prison. So he pretty much gives her the boot, gives her some supplies, a vehicle, and he's just like, I'm done with you. I wash my hands of you, Carol. And she's like, well, why do I gotta go? And he's like, well, for one, Tyreese is gonna kill you. She's like, well, I can handle Tyreese. And he's like, yeah, good luck with that. He's like, I couldn't even handle him, and I didn't even do anything. I got punched in the face. So, he's like, I'm gonna tell, and how they react is not gonna be good. So you just best get out of here. So she's like, all right, well, whatever. Take my watch, because you don't have a watch, and I'm leaving. So she drives off. People are like, oh, is Carol still gonna be in the show? Is she gonna come back? Is she gonna join up with the governor somewhere out there? Is she gonna go clear with Morgan, or is she gonna re-inhabit Woodbury, or is she gonna be in the new Walking Dead spinoff? Who knows? But what I do know, what I'm positive of, she'll be back in some capacity. Whatever it be, I'm sure Carol will somehow resurface. So it was really interesting. No one's really ever been booted out. Not even Merrill. Of all the terrible things he's done, he kind of stuck around, but then again, he didn't kill anybody at that time. He beat up Glenn, but come on, who doesn't want to punch Glenn every now and then? So anyway, so that whole thing happened, and then so that's kind of the end of their little storyline. So moving on to Daryl, Michonne, Bob, and Tyreese. So obviously their car stalled on account of zombies stuck in their tires, so they had to leave. They find an abandoned car that's covered with vegetation, just vines and leaves everywhere. So they start hacking away. Tyreese is as angry as he has been since Karen died. He's just just hacking away. They're like, dude, chill out. You need to take a breath. Have time out. And he just keeps hacking. His machete gets caught, and it ends up being caught in some wire or something. And he cuts it, and it opens the door, and walkers fly out. If for whatever reason he just doesn't want to let go of this walker, and it's not explicitly said, but he's got a death wish, and he doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. Like, he's angry. He wants to release this rage, and that's his Tyreese. So Michonne saves the day, chops the walker's arm off. She's like, hands off, Tyreese, and chops his arm off. And they kill the rest of the walkers, as they're known to do. So as Daryl and Bob are fixing the car, Michonne and Tyreese are having a little heart-to-heart, and she's all like, you can't keep being angry and scowling at everybody like I used to do in the previous seasons. It's not cool. And he's like, oh yeah, but you're not angry. How come you're looking for the governor? And he's like, that's a good question. I don't have an answer for you. So it's going to go chop some leaves, I guess. So anyway, so they get the car started. They drive off. They get to the veterinary school. Everyone's doing their job. Well, almost everyone. And everyone's getting the medicine, looking for penicillin and other antibiotics. They get all this stuff. Obviously, walkers surround them. And there's a group of walkers that all were killed by this mystery deadly flu. So they're like, let's not even kill these dudes. We don't know what's going to happen if the blood gets on us. Let's just stay away. So they're running from them, killing the other sets of walkers. And so they have to escape through a window, and they're on a ledge. And Bob, I don't even know what he did. It looked like he tried to just barrel roll through the window, and he ended up nearly falling off. So his backpack that's supposed to be full of medicine is dangling off, and the walkers on the ground are grabbing at it, and he's trying to pull it up. And finally he wrenches it free and it goes flying, and then Daryl looks in the bag, he pulls it up, and there's a bottle of Jack Daniels, or I don't know, it might have not been Jack Daniels, but it was some type of alcohol that he wanted to whet his appetite with. But anyway, to backtrack, Bob had told Daryl that he pretty much told him that, back, the reason why the shelf fell when they went on their last run was because he really wanted the alcohol, and they put it back on the shelf, and that's what caused the whole thing to collapse, which in turn caused the walkers to start falling through the roof. And he was saying, after being the only survivor in 2 groups, he felt like this was like a curse, like he's just there to watch everybody die, and all he can do is just bury his guilt in alcohol. And, at the time, Daryl was sympathetic to that, but after he risked everyone's life again, and on top of that, didn't even have medicine in the bag, which was ironic since he was telling Michonne what to look for while he was, I guess, just digging around looking for more booze. And so Daryl gets pretty pissed, and he gets in his face, like I'm talking like forehead to forehead, just like, get off my roof. And I seriously thought he was just going to just front kick him in the chest and send him into the zombies, but he's just like, we should have left you walking on the street because you're a jackass. And he just turns his back on him. Oh yeah, well, because that was the whole thing, because Daryl was going to throw the alcohol into the walkers, and Bob reached for his gun. So, yeah, as you can tell, whatever friendship or relationship they have, that's severed. I mean, you're going to shoot some dude over some booze that you might need an AA meeting or 2, I'm just saying. So, they leave, they got the medicine, they got the booze, they got a vehicle. It's not a Mustang or anything, but it'll get you to where you're going. So they're driving off, so, it ends a little bit hopeful. I mean, granted, Carol's gone to parts unknown, but they got medicine, they're on their way back, they're not being attacked by swarms of zombies. They didn't get to find out exactly what that voice on the radio was. I'm sure that'll come into play later, like, when everyone's not dying. So that's pretty much it for Indifference. It was a good episode, a lot of good character development. We find out that Bob is kind of a jackass. We find out that Tyreese just needs to take a chill pill. Michonne is cooler when she smiles. We already knew Daryl was a badass, but it just reaffirmed it. And Carol's a kind of a badass in her own right. I appreciate Carol, she stepped up, she's become more of a leader, but not all of her choices are necessarily the best. And anyway, well, she's gone now anyway, so her and Morgan can go be out there in exile. And Rick, I don't know, Rick seems like he's inching closer and closer to becoming a leader himself. So it also begs the question how everyone's going to react when he tells them, oh yeah, so Carol didn't make it. Like, is he going to tell them, like, she died, or did he just unilaterally kicked him out and, reinstituted the dictatorship? Or how are people going to react? Is Tyreese going to be mad that he didn't bring her back so he can kill her? Or is he going to start hunting her and, in the forest trying to find her? So, there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and we'll have to wait for the next episode. So anyway, once again, if you like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Right now, we have a handful of subscribers. I'd like to at least get to the double digits, if you guys can help us out with that. We get also pitwar.com, Punching the Walls Reality, check it out. We have plenty of articles, more videos, a whole lot of stuff. We got podcasts. Give it a listen, give it a watch, give it a read, and tune in next week for The Walking Dead recap. I'm Prometheus. Thank you, and good night.